It is exactly that. You have to figure out how to navigate and find a way to thrive. God has a great way of humbling us, teaching us humility.
We never question it. It's just wet. We don't question the water we swim in. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
I am good, Myrna. Thank you for having me today. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Oh, me too. I was just mentioning that you're kind of a pro podcaster and you're living proof of so many amazing achievements. We took a minute to go over the long list. We won't have to cover them all in this podcast, but it's really a delight to have you in our audience to view kind of the living proof experience of what you've been through that you can demonstrate for others these things are possible. So I want to rewind 22 years as an executive with a giant company, and you raised kids and were very busy and mastered a number of business skills. And then, having got all that working, you had a health challenge. And it was time to kind of dial it back and figure all of that out. And I think a lot of us have been in the circumstance that you were in where this is dialed in, this is working, this is dialed in. I see another 5 or 7 years ahead of me, and I'm going to wrap this up. And then, no, that's not what's going to happen. This
Right.
isn't up to you, but it's all going to change right now. You're like, wait a minute, change how? What am I giving up? And share with me a little bit about what that decision was like to kind of step away from that big career and, be raising a family, married and kids, and go, I have to make these changes and I'm not actually sure what's next. You were in control of everything and it was working out fine. And
Yeah.
then you weren't.
Hit. Yes, yes. And, first of all, I do want to say this. The decision was not an overnight decision, as you
No,
probably know.
yeah.
I was diagnosed, so back it up. I was in Mary Kay for 17 years, probably about 17 years at the time this started. I did end up staying in longer, but I had stepped down from a leadership position that I had held for quite some time. And really, all I had known since I had moved into the Dallas area, where I'm living now. So back this up to 2012 when all this started. Yes, I was probably at the height of where I was going. I was excited. I was passionate. My kids were 16, 12, and 8 at the time. I was PTO mom, field trip mom, homeroom mom. We were doing karate, soccer, lacrosse, piano, destination, imagination, you name it, we were doing it. And I really, in hindsight, I can look at this full on and know that I contributed. The way I was living my life at the time was a big factor in influencing where I was headed. But I didn't know what I didn't know at that time. And so, yes, when I got diagnosed with this disorder, this nerve condition, it blindsided me. It came out of nowhere. I mean, I literally went into a dentist appointment, had a silver filling taken out from when I was a child. 5 months later, I've had a major car accident, and now I'm diagnosed with this rare nerve condition that didn't even know anything about. And so it turned my world upside down for the better part of 4 years. And I was in and out of the doctor's hospital. I was working with different specialists. I ended up getting put on 6 different medications, including opiates. And then I finally it all came to head. I made a decision one day. I walked into this doctor and I realized nothing was going to change. Like it was going to be up to me. No medicine was going to fix this. It wasn't going to be something that a doctor was going to be able to cure. It was going to be up to me to make this change. And so, two things happened. One, I cried. I got upset
Well,
because
sure.
I knew at this point that it was me. But on the same token, I felt relief because I knew that it was going to be me. Like I was going to do something. I was either going to do it or I wasn't going to make it. That's where I was. And so I went to work. And when I say I went to work, I started working with holistic practitioners. I started looking into things. I started finding people to put in my space that were helping me. And kind of one thing led to another. I ended up ultimately doing a ketogenic diet, went on that cold turkey over a holiday weekend. I became a marathon runner during that time.
Wow.
And I realized it wasn't even just about that, like the exercise and the eating, because I was already doing some of that already. But it became more about really recognizing patterns of behavior and belief systems and things that I was hanging on to. And this was all just unfolding. So when that decision came to step down, that was really right at the brink of me going into this phase of healing myself. And one morning I woke up, I'm not kidding, this went on for like 6 months that I was like looking for this sign. And one morning I woke up And I sat up in bed and I told my husband, I said, today's the day. I'm just going to set it down, relinquish it, and cried 24 hours. I was so upset. But the
Mhm.
next day I woke up and this relief came over me because I realized I needed to do this to heal myself. And
Yeah.
I had no idea where this was going to take me, but I just knew that it was a decision I needed to make in order for me to get better and move forward.
I just compliment your courage. We're ready when we're ready. We're not ready before then. It's not like we set a clock, I'll be ready in 30 minutes. It's not like that.
Right.
At the same time, you don't know how much of your identity is caught up in your successful executive life. You don't know how much is caught up in, I'm the mom that's driving soccer carpool, and I'm the mom that organized the trophies and got the cupcakes and did the pizza party. You just sort of slide into all of those things and they expand and you cope with them. And then as it starts to come undone or you're not able to do it, who are you now?
Right.
Like you've been on the countable person, you're on the list to call to make stuff happen. And if it's not the job that's giving you that fulfillment or that revenue, and not the community service or the other things you're doing for the family, it rocks your whole world.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It's
And it
very
was awful. It
exciting.
was. Yeah, it
It's
does. And that's why when you heard me say that basically that do or die situation, I mean, the disorder that I have is called it's called suicide disease if you look it up in the medical dictionary because it's extremely painful. And I had come to a point, and I talked about this in my book, where I just really couldn't see myself continuing in this pattern. I could not stay on the medication. I didn't like the being so drugged up, but at the same time, I couldn't get off of it because I was in such extreme pain
Mhm.
that my pain doctor was like, "We got to get your blood pressure down. We've got to get you functioning." And so I say it was like a coming to Jesus moment where I realized I couldn't continue this way. I was either going to end it or I had to fix it. Like I couldn't do it any longer. And so it really became I had to solve this problem. Like I had to get some resolve and move forward.
Well, I just want to again congratulate you and then thank you for showing other people pain is one of those impossible things.
Yeah.
It's 24/7 and you assume everybody starts, the doctor diagnoses something and then they give you pain medication and then I'm supposed to live the rest of my life like this. I mean, I can't live on morphine every minute of the day. I mean, this is not sustainable, but there also isn't an obvious alternative. And but all those skills of being an executive for so long, being a busy mom and running a busy family and a household, that prepared you to roll up your sleeves and find the research, to roll up your sleeves and ask questions. Find a holistic practitioner about this, ask friends about that, and to cycle through things until you started to let an answer form for you. So, congratulations and changing your diet, marathon running for heaven's sakes. I mean, you put in the work to get to the bottom of what it was for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, people need to know it's possible, especially if their pain is something that it's so hard to cope with.
Yeah.
You don't get restorative sleep. Other people, they don't understand. You don't just have a bad day. You're forecasting a bad life from here. So it's just a very different mind space to
Yeah.
be in. Yeah, this is going to suck for the rest of time for me. How are you? It's like,
Yeah,
how do you,
and that's what it's like. It
how do
is.
you
It's
do
exactly
this?
what it's like when you have a chronic condition. I mean, I have two of them that I'm dealing with, and it is exactly that. You have to figure out how to navigate and find a way to thrive. And I feel like you're right. I will say all those skills I learned in business and sales really just helped me become, I say, industrious and have ingenuity and be
Mhm,
creative and
mhm,
find solutions. And
mhm.
even to this day, I mean, I'm like that with everything. I'm like, unless you can prove to me something is not going to work, I'm going to investigate. I am going to check it out. I'm going to look at it. And especially if you tell me not to, I'm probably really going to do it because you have to, because chronic diseases are extremely debilitating for people. And a lot of people lose hope and think that this is what I'm going to live with. This is going to be my life and there is no moving forward. And I'm here to say that yes, there is. You just have to be extremely resourceful and willing to investigate and try.
asking for orders in sales, setting yourself targets to achieve and achieving them, that I think let you ask for help, ask
Yeah,
for ways to explore, to try to figure out, well, I set goals and I achieve them. I'm going to set the goal of figuring out how big a role is my diet in this, or what other 360-degree things could I do. So
right.
you mentioned, and I think this is so critical to your coaching and coaching in general, is this mind body spirit connection. You talked about limiting beliefs, or you talked about habit patterns that are kind of invisible to us because we just run through them, and you don't have an idea that this is a contributing factor to this other problem. Seems like you're talking about flowers and Kool-Aid. Like, how are those connected? Like,
Yeah.
what? But they are. It's all somehow connected.
Right. You are so right. And let me tell you this story. I did talk about this in my book. So when I went to one of my very first holistic practitioners, I don't even know when this was. It was kind of in the beginning of this exploration. I
Mhm.
went into his office and I remember him asking me something along the lines of, "What were you doing at the onset of this condition?" And Myrna, I remember being so angry about that question because I was like, oh my goodness, you did not just imply
You're
that
bleeding?
I caused this or that I had a role in this, right? Now I can laugh about it now because I can say, yes, I very much had a part in this. But back then, I
Mhm.
was in my victim state and I was like, this was the beginning stages of all this. And I think God has a great way of humbling us, teaching us humility. But here's what I found out in this. That was the beginning of this. That I feel was what I needed to have happen in order for me to create space to one, heal myself, but also to find a space to have empathy for others and compassion and to create a voice to lean into others. I needed that to happen. And so, what I started to begin to unravel with this is when I started realizing that, okay, I taught aerobics for many years before this even happened. This was not an exercise thing for me. I was already doing that. And yes, I became a marathon runner, but I will tell you, I did the marathon running because when I was pounding pavement, guess what, Myrna? That gave me freedom. It allowed me to redirect my pain
Yeah.
out of my face and put it into my legs and my feet. That's why I did it. No, but I realized that it wasn't just about these core things, right? What I started unpacking was that I had patterns of behavior. And I talk about this now, this whole crash and burn cycle.
Mhm.
As a high achiever, when
Yeah.
I was growing up, and I don't want to pass the blame on my parents or anything like that because it is what it is, but I
Some people
felt,
have the archetype of high achiever.
yes,
Find it in athletes, you find it in doctors, you find it in
yes.
lots of people.
Yes, I felt the need to achieve. And a lot of my achievement was really tied to my approval. I felt that I needed it to have approval.
Mhm.
And so I would have these cyclical crash and burns. And they would basically be I'd go full on hard and then I crash. And when I was growing up, I can tell you from the time I was in fifth grade, when I started getting migraines, all the way up until the time this happened, that's what I always would get would be a migraine. And it would be a 48-hour event. I would crash to have the migraine experience and then back up and I'm at it again. Well, what I started unpacking with this was that these crash and burn cycles for me manifest in health. That's how they show up for me. They manifest in a physical manner for me
Mhm.
in my health. And this happened to be a big one for me. And so that was the one big realization. But the other thing behind this was why was I doing these patterns of behavior that were contributing to this crash and burn cycle? And so that's what really led into this whole spiritual thing that we're talking about, where I started really going into why am I doing these things? Why do I have this repetitive pattern? What is the emotion that is tied to this? And so that's where we start talking about limiting beliefs and getting into, am I doing things that are in alignment with the values and the way I want to be doing my life? Or am I repeating these toxic patterns of behavior because this is what I know? And so that's a lot of what I do now, really, is getting into this stuff because for me, this has been the biggest part of my journey when I started really unpacking and realizing that, okay, I'm doing this because I feel this need to have approval
Mhm.
instead of doing it because I want to do it,
Yeah.
right? Then I can release some of that and now start asking myself, is what I'm doing now in alignment with what I want to be doing? And am I doing it for the right reasons?
Yes.
right? And now I
So
can
important.
restructure this, but also create new framework of habits that actually support what I want to create, right?
What's so exciting, I mean, because you're available for people, in just a few months' time, they can go from, I'm a victim, this bad thing happened, it's not fair, and I'm still mad about it. Nobody understands. So now I'm kind of isolated from everyone because I hurt all the time and they forget that I can't go to the party, eat the pie, whatever it is. And they have to kind of navigate, we're going to do some things about it, get your agency back, to try to set aside the victimhood. It sucks, it happened, what do we do now? We just have to kind of, okay, well, we're going to do some things to make it better. And then, as you say, the progression of understanding, well, how did I develop that habit? Why is it I'm still trying to please my parents or compete with my siblings or be the prettiest girl in class or the fastest runner or the highest paid fill in the blank? Why am I doing that? And I think of it as the water we swim in. We never question it. It's just wet. We don't question the water we swim in. But then when you do finally get a chance to work with a coach, to talk with someone, and the right questions are asked that you can sit with, what would happen if you were the third fastest runner? What would happen if you stepped away from your big career and you didn't have that to be proud of? You were formerly fill in the blank amazing career person, but you're not that anymore. What happens then? And to kind of sit with those things and begin to realize, oh, that's what that is. And everybody has that stuff. There just aren't humans that don't have
Yeah,
that stuff.
right.
But to have a coach be able to say, could we look right here for a minute and just sit with that question for a day or two, and then chat about what little shift we might make in terms of what if you began to express that it was okay that you're pretty good at running but not the fastest.
Like,
That you earn an above average income, but not the highest. And then, did anybody die? Are you still turning the lights on? Can you get up in the morning? How do you sort of disentangle from an achiever thing or from a victim thing or whatever it is that you're working on? And I think we know people that have patterns that repeat. We love them, they're our friends or they're our family, but they've never been forced to really look at a pattern. You
right.
had this dramatic forcing function of this impossible pain with no solution. Okay, this is impossible and nobody can help me. Yeah, so that's where we are. I mean,
Yeah,
so figure it
yeah.
out. And
Yeah.
you did.
Well, and you said some good things there because I like to be clear that I do not think there is anything wrong with setting goals and wanting to achieve things. I know how it feels. We all do to achieve something great and be able to check that off of our list. And I don't
Mhm.
think there's anything wrong with that. But my whole thing is if it is causing you to be ill, then
Yeah.
you need to reassess. If it is causing you your livelihood with your family, you need to reassess. I think a lot of times, and this is why I work with high achievers a lot of times, is because we get blindsided by it. We don't want to look at it because we think there's no problem until a crisis hits. And then all of a sudden, now we're forced to. And that's what, yes, what you said happened to me. It just happened to me before I turned 40. Crazy enough, I got diagnosed with another equally painful disease after that, almost 10 years later, that landed me in the ER 8 times with it. But I will tell you, I learned from the first go around that
Mm,
I will survive the second one. And I did. And I had to
very good.
navigate a little bit differently. But
Sure.
the skills, the things that I had learned, the skills were still the same. And I know had I not been through that first episode, I
Mhm.
wouldn't have made it through the second.
Mhm.
So I think these are very powerful things, but I kind of like to joke with people and say when they're with me, like, I'm not a band-aid person. So if you're looking for somebody just to
Mhm.
put the cherry on top and
They're
smear
there
it
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
give you the quick fix. No, I want you to win. Like, no, we're going to go deep. We're going to clear this because I want you to be able to sustain whatever it is you're doing, but also to be able to repeat this
Mhm.
success over and over and over and not learn something and walk away and go, what was that I learned?
Right.
You know?
I think what happens, and that you sort of have to give this umbrella of promise above someone's head that says you may be forced to redesign how you live. You may be forced into a work-life balance you never thought you needed. And sometimes you can go hard for 10 years and year 12 you collapse and there's no getting back up to where you were. This
Right.
was how long that string was, and it's over. And so your body can't sustain it, your psychology or emotional nature can't sustain it. Other changes happened in your life. An older parent or something else is now changing how your life is leading. Coaches can show you how to design a life that's still, you talk about, successful in multiple fronts, successful with their health and successful with their family and
Right.
successful with their spiritual life. Redefining what success looks like, I think, is a part of the coaching that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a podcast this past week that I did, or an episode that I recorded with a doctor, medical doctor, and she had a practice and she let it go. And part of it, I think, I don't know all of it, but I think she kind of had a crash and burn too. And we were actually talking about this difference between success and satisfaction and how these are really different, right? Because how do you really define success? And she says, I define it, it's really about satisfaction for me. And I think that's what it really comes down to is there. I talk about this all the time, even with Mary Kay. I miss things about it because I miss the camaraderie, I miss the team part aspect, but I don't miss the crunching the numbers and I don't miss the quotas and I don't miss the stressing about all that. And I really love what I get to do now because now I get to engage in great conversation. I feel like if I could do a podcast episode every day, I would never need to do. I'd be happy. I mean, every single day. I am happy, Myrna, pretty much every day. But I would be totally excited every day if I could just have a great conversation because there's so many incredible, amazing people out there, and I really love having that engagement, like learning about them and what they're doing. And so I feel like even though, yes, I've had to redesign my life, I can't run a marathon like I did. I still work out almost every day though. Not at that level, but at a new level. My diet's different than it was maybe 10, 12 years ago, right? But I have a new way of living. So I think it's really about embracing, like redefining yourself, what that looks like, right? And then learning to embrace that and move forward and look at what are the new things that you've gained in this new life that you created.
One of the things that, sort of post global pandemic, we have less and less confidence in experts.
Mm,
We've been told
yeah.
things are and then told, yeah, it wasn't like that. We're like, but I was trusting you. And so there's kind of a general idea. We need to sort of DIY many parts of our life. And when you work with a coach like you, that is a keto carnivore coach, nervous system trainer, a supplement coach, I'm reading about peptides. I'm reading about men that are checking their T levels.
Right.
I watched a podcaster say, I just found out why I fly off the handle at these little things. I have low T. Did you
Right.
know that was a symptom of low T? And now I'm getting testosterone. My wife is so happy because I don't have this flash anger. This is like the flowers in the Kool-Aid again.
Right. The
So what
flowers
do
of the
you mean
Kool-Aid. Yep.
your sparks of anger have to do with your testosterone levels? And there's this simple fix for it,
Right.
and you're happier. So we are kind of in a DIY zone and reaching out to coaches and holistic practitioners because I think when we know ourselves, we know what our body's responding to. We
Yeah.
know what we're capable of handling. And when we build up the right supplements, the right habits and practices, the right diet, the right exercise, but also the right mindset
Yes.
so that we know things are possible, then we can do your other certified area, which is dream building.
Yeah.
Now that we've rebuilt you, and
Right.
the $6 million man or something, you know how to
Yeah.
eat, you know how to live with what you have now, working with what you have now. What can we dream about making happen now? I just love that too.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because that's where I started was the dream. Well, I backed that up. I started with the health, right? I started there first and then ended up into the dream builder. But here's the interesting thing. Everything, all the modalities that I have, I they're I did them because of me. I didn't do them because I went just to go, I'm going to get
You're
certified in this
living
because
proof.
yeah, I've done them. I even the nervous system. That was my latest certification that I did. And when I took that, I was in the height of a middle of dealing with this second chronic condition. I was having a lot of anxiety because I could not get it under control. I was in the ER 8 times. And when I finally went to this practitioner, I said, listen, the only goal, my goal, my expectations were so minimal. I said, my only expectation is, can you keep me out of the ER? I'm tired of going around with the
I'm
ER
never driving
personnel.
to the building again.
Exactly. And so I learned this nervous system stuff really just to help me manage the stress going through that. And then as I was doing that and things were kind of turned out, I ended up during this finding out that I had low iron, that was going my thyroid. So we had some real physical manifestation things happening here, bodily wise, that needed to be resolved. But it was instrumental in helping me learn how to train, get myself to calm down during this. And so as I was doing that, I'm what listen, I know there's a lot of people out there with anxiety that can benefit from this. So I'm a big advocate of it. Now I talk about it like we can't really outthink our bodies. If they are dysregulated, it is going to be hard to operate at a high level.
And people aren't taught how to re-regulate.
Right.
People aren't taught how to get enough sleep and drink enough water and get some sunshine. I mean,
Yep.
there's some pretty fundamental stuff that we're having to add back in because we spend time scrolling on screens
Right.
and comparing ourselves to people in some other part of the world that are prettier or richer or whatever.
Right.
And it's kind of like, why am I looking at an Italian model on a yacht in the Riviera? It's like, that has nothing to do with me. I don't need to compare myself.
Exactly.
So to know that these things are possible, to know that there are people that have done it and that you yourself could learn it too, and you may be surprised as you peel the layers back. Oh, that might be my kind of crash and burn achievement cycle going on there. Or I am the work I do and I can't do it anymore. So
Yeah.
what am I now? To work with a coach to navigate that. You can be happy doing something similar, different, whatever. A happy life is still possible for you in a redesign. We're going to just do a little reboot and redesign, and happiness lies on the other side of that. So great to talk to you today. Okay, what is the name of your book? And we're going to send people to your podcast. Tell us how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the book is Beat the Toughest Obstacles, and I it's pretty simple read. Just talk about my journey. You can find it on Amazon. You can
Mhm.
also go to my webpage. It's just Jennifer Loading's my name. I'm sure you'll get the info in the
We'll
show
have
notes.
the
But
link. Yes, and
yeah, it's that
mhm,
if you look me up, you're gonna find me. I'm not hard. And then the
mhm,
podcast currently is Starter Girls, and that
mhm.
show's been around a little over 5 years now. So great show, and we talk about all
600
kinds of
episodes. You have
amazing people.
600 videos. That's so great. Well, this inner detox block program that you announced on your LinkedIn page, I really love that too. Awareness, alignment, action, accountability. I mean, these are very approachable ways to
Yeah,
say, I could dig my way out of this. I mean, I think I could be accountable. I think I could develop awareness. And so, kind of the way that not only are you living proof that it can happen, these are ways to realize, well, if this is what I have to do, I can probably do this.
right.
I can probably step my way through these things and change my current life experience, design something more rewarding, more fulfilling, more satisfying. Like your doctor guest says, to be satisfied in life, to have contentment, it's a really wonderful thing. Possible for everyone, though. For some people, they might be in a situation where they have to dig out a little more than somebody else. It might take a little more work, but it's absolutely possible. And it's really nice to know you're out there helping people achieve. I wish you'd had a Jennifer Loading when this happened to you. I wish.
I know. I wish too. I mean, I've had great mentors along the way, but I feel that it's like I've said throughout this. I feel like somebody feels I have to lend a voice here because I feel like I've just had so many crazy things in my life. And even just like a couple weeks ago, my son came back from traveling and he got a raise, a nice hefty raise at his work. He's a chef, and 2 days later, he got his first car that he was paying for stolen. And so we did get it back, but we did locate it. Thankfully, he had an air tag hidden in the convertible. And believe it or not, we located it. But I
Fantastic.
tell you, I feel like that these things happen to us for a reason.
Yes.
And I have to find when they happen in the moment, they're bad. But then I find the silver lining and I realize it gives me a voice to lend into somebody and say, listen, you got a crazy story, a crazy problem. I assure you, if you are willing to come out of it, you can get yourself out of there. You just got to be willing to try.
Yeah, so amazing. Well, your resilience is admirable.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing your story with everybody here today. We'll send everybody over to your podcast, your LinkedIn page, your website, to Amazon for your book. Thanks again, Jennifer. So
Thank
great
you,
to
Myrna.
talk.
Appreciate you.
Take care.